TikTok time to rock. Did you see that comment there from Derek about the slow clap? You know? Yeah. Who was changing guitar strings? Was it Brad, the rock professor, or Andrew? No, we were just chit-chatting, folks. Trust me. Good to see you guys. It's my pleasure as usual and always to introduce the panel here tonight. Obviously myself, Andrew, we've got the rock professor up there and down below holding us up as usual, always.
Atlas.
Is Brad, the backdoor man. Good to see you guys. Looking forward to this show. Looking forward to it. It'll be a great show, Brad.
Yes. Look, it's been an exciting week. Been an exciting week, guys. On the channel, obviously, I shared an unboxing, and I know Rock Professor, you got yours the week before. So, Andrew, I know you're still waiting, so I don't want to rub it in too much. But my goodness, what an amazing box set!
Professors, I had it originally up on the channel, Simon, as a short, which was always good, but then I managed to reformat it so I can go in and do it as a video. So always nice to do unboxings on the channel. People always enjoy them. A lot of nice comments from people on the that support us on the channel, enjoying the fact that you're unwrapping something that we've waited 30 years for, Brad and Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm pleased you reformat it because John ZD35 was complaining about it. So hopefully we've managed to get the box in the shot, John. So you'll be happy now.
Yeah, well, I'm there it is, John ZD351. Hopefully, we'll be in the chat later on. It's never the same when he's not in here. We do enjoy his wit. I'm going to share something with you guys, something that just came into my mind. I put a Facebook post up a week ago of a young guy delivering papers, and I made this comment. This is what me and my mates used to do back in the day when we used to earn money, and that's a true story. I was a paper boy and a milk boy. I made good money, Brad. And what does John ZD351? Oh, so you made money nicking bikes?
Look, I know a lot of people could take John ZD351 one way or the other. He's sarcastic, he's funny. People could take it the wrong way, but he's just like to nitpick and have a go, and it's quite a humorous way to be. And he's a great guy.
I love it, which is the good idea.
I love it. I love that quick wit, Simon. Look, folks. We'll promise we'll start the show off soon, but there's a couple of things that we need to do before we go live with the show. Obviously, the Rock Professor is going to be doing a shout out to you guys all soon. We've got 13 people watching us, so it's always a pleasure. Can I remind you, if you're watching on a replay, please to subscribe to our channel, but more importantly, to go to our channels page. Up on the menu on YouTube, it's really, really easy. You can see a couple of little things there. Go to our channels page, and on there's all our friends. You'll find Brad's channel there. Go and subscribe to Brad. You'll find L&M Guitar Centre there. Holly Lewis is there. Hugh Caldwell's, all our friends are there. So please go and subscribe. That would be really, really good if you could do that. You guys, your two videos, unboxing videos on the channel, thank you very much, Brad and Simon, for doing that. Like I said, it's always a good thing to have that on the channel. We do appreciate that kind of activity. And some news in a couple of days ago, Carl and I had the grace and good fortune a couple of years ago to interview on the channel. I think it was our first, besides the Rock Professor, he was our first. He was our first guy that we managed to interview and Brad. Rock Professor and besides the Rock Professor and Brad, Sam Cutler was the first guy that we managed, that was of international fame, that we managed to get onto the channel, and we spent an hour and a half with him. I'll put that link in this description. If you're watching on a replay, please go and check it. Sam Cutler is responsible for looking after the Rolling Stones in the '69 tour, so he's the guy that you hear on the Get Your Ya-Ya's Out. Is everybody ready? Is everybody ready? Yeah. That's Sam Cutler.
Yeah.
Go and check out his biography too. His biography is if you thought rock and roll was rock and roll, Brad and Simon, and everything that you heard about it, Brad and Simon, it is true.
Yeah. It's all
No,
true.
I'm going to go back and watch that interview as well, Andrew. I haven't had time to watch it since you posted the announcement about Sam. So, yeah, I will go back and watch that.
No problem. So I think that's me with the intro. I know the Rock Professor's got something to say, and then Brad, you've got a couple of things that you want to say, and then I promise, folks, we'll start the show properly.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. I have a couple of things to say. I wanted to mark this week, and this is of particular niche interest to me, but and I posted it on my Facebook page. The passing of my old boss at the record shop, Tony Dodd, a name that won't mean anything to anybody here except to me. But I think, and we've all got these people in our towns, and I think that Tony was like a great local musician. He played in the Bristol band since the late '50s. So he was in the first rock and roll band ever to play at the Colston Hall. Mike Tobin and the Magnets, in the days when you had so and so. Or Johnny Slade and the Vikings was another band he played in. So you can see, but he was a really, really good rock and roll guitarist. That's what his thing was. Telly, I can't remember he had a Fender amp as well. I can't remember what it was, so long ago. But that's what he used to play through, turn it up a bit for a solo, but pretty much that's what you got. And he would play, a lot of mostly covers. And we used to go and see them in the local pubs, and he's a sort of bastion of the local music scene. But he also ran the record shop that I worked in for 3 years, from '79 to '82. Tony's Record, the originally named Tony's Records, and he and I were downstairs in this basement, and I found a big piece that he wrote about it, and it was exactly my recollection. It was basically it was like a youth club a lot of the time, because all the kids would come in after school, and of course I'm only 21 or something, so I'm not that far removed from them. And we used to play records for them and stuff, and and they would hang out, and it was great. But it was a fantastic time in my life. Those 3 years were brilliant fun. He was a fantastic guy to work for, and we had many laughs and many good times. And but he invested in local bands. He helped to finance a couple of local bands' single releases. But his major thing was the record shop, and secondhand records as well. So this is when I first turned up with secondhand records being a thing, boxes on tables with you flick through on the things. And I'm sure we've all got those record shops in our town and stuff.
Awesome. So, I'm just going to interrupt you. I have to do a special shout out to Mike Brookfield. He's in the chat, guys. Thank you, Mike, for jumping on. Love to do a show with you. Love to get you on, Mike. I know we've been talking about it for a long, long time, but we'd love to get you on. Sorry, Simon.
No worries.
Don't like to do that. But I know that he just pops in and pops out.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good morning, Mike. Welcome from Dublin. Quite close to me. But yeah, it's, and he played until comparatively recently. And he had a band called Hug It, and called Dodd's Army as well, so we used to go and see a lot. But so my thanks to Tony for getting me into the record buying thing. My love of music, and part of that is from him. And those days we spent, rainy days, not much going on, playing records, and him. I have a funny story that I'll relate to against one of the tracks on here, because it does kind of have a tangent. And in 1981, he and I went to see Eric Clapton at the Hippodrome, together. I've got a tape of it, actually. I've got a cassette tape. He cassette taped it. I don't know. It's probably appalling quality, but I might dig it out and see if I have still got it. But yeah, with Chris Stainton and Albert Lee on guitar and stuff. So and Gary Brooker on organ. So good band, really good band.
Awesome.
Yeah, great nights. So hats off to my old boss Tony Dodd. He's a fantastic guy, and will be sorely missed. He had a lot of tributes locally, but yeah. So look after the local people in your town, folks. They're the bastions of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done, Simon. Well done.
Cool. Thank you for that. Over to you, Brad, for more announcements.
Just a quick one. Just want to say happy birthday to Art Menenzies. It was his birthday yesterday. We are organising him to come back on the channel at some point. Just trying to lock in a date with him and what works with the channel and his time. It's always difficult, Andrew and Simon, with time frames and time zones being different and stuff like that. It's that's the most difficult part of organising guests, I think. But yeah, so happy birthday, Art. We're looking forward to get you back on the show, buddy. Happy birthday.
No problem. And look, we will definitely. But Brad's correct. You know, we've all of us have full-time work, folks. You know, I don't do this and grift for money to support myself from you folks or from YouTube. The Rock Professor doesn't. You know, we have a long-term plan that all of us are going to buy villas through the channel one day.
He sent us not a cent. Walton has sent us not a cent.
But not any time.
So he's timed himself out, Simon.
He has. Look, he's got that. He's got. There's the thumbnail. Yeah. Look. But I just want to back up what Brad said. You know, all of us are working. You know, and. Yeah, you know, the time that we put in to do our weekly show is a lot. Takes a lot of effort, folks. You know, so, you know, I just want to reiterate that. I'm sure you guys all know that. We love doing it, though. I just want to back up one thing, though, that the Rock Professor said, though, about record shops, because I'm lucky enough to, when I was a young fella growing up, we had 3 second-hand record shops in town, and I was absolutely happy, Brad, to be considered cool enough to be able to hang out, not work at the record shop, but hang out there and put some records away and play records and listen to the guys and have a cigarette with them, you know, back in the day, you know, when having a ciggy was rebellious.
There's a wonderful thing about, I used to go to a record store in the city of Sydney when I lived in Sydney. To catch a train in, I'd go in there. The guys knew who I was when I walked through there. They knew that I was into Led Zeppelin. I was chasing bootlegs. They would always go, come over here, mate. We'll show you the bootlegs. They weren't around. And they show you all the CD collections and stuff like that and records. And so it's a long lost art. And I would hate to see record stores completely close and not have that. I mean, I used to love the fact that I could go buy something and take it home with me instead of pre-ordering it online like the 24 nights thing, and it takes forever and a day to come and you're stressed it's not going to turn up, and there's something not so organic about that for me. I'd still prefer to go to a record store. So if you've got a record store in your town, go and support them, keep them alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Here. Shall I say hello to the people in the chat, and then we'll get on.
Please do.
So good morning to Charles 75N. Morning, Charles.
That's Charles Green.
Charles Green. Is it? Oh, right. Is it? Morning, Charles. Thanks for dropping by. Arvin. Good morning, Arvin. Hope you're well. Jazz Thunder 50. Jim. Morning, Jim. Ellen, of course. Good morning, Ellen. Lovely to see you the last 2 weeks on the show. Fantastic. Got home safely, I gather. Gretch Zeppelin. Good morning, Gretch. We've got some bloke called Simon Williams. Hugh Caldwell. Morning, Hugh. Hope you're well. Up north of the border. Derek Clapton. Morning, Derek. Hope you're well too. Nice of you to drop by. Holly Lewis. Morning, Holly. Got the got the mug filled with the go juice of the morning. Scrolling down, Jonas Halberg. Good morning, Jonas. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining. And L&M Guitar Corner. Good morning. It's also we've got James
Martin.
Stewart. Good morning, James Stewart. That's fantastic to see. It's very good. Yeah. Who did I miss? Mike Brookfield as well. Good morning, Mike. Nice to see you too. Hopefully I've got everybody. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Good to see you all, and I hope you're all well. And yes, ready.
Yes.
Ready. Are you
Rock and
ready?
roll.
It's not really the thing, is it? It's shouting, "Are you ready?" Hello, London.
Welcome to the annual dust up.
Yeah. Well done, Andrew. Well done.
That's right. Well, yeah, it's very good. Yes, welcome to the annual dust up, the Albert Hall.
Oh, on the 5150 show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. It's welcome to the annual dust up. Yes, on the 5150 show. It's dust up. That's a great phrase, isn't it? You don't hear that anymore. Dust up. I don't think, or I haven't anyway. Lovely. So anyway, shall we begin, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's begin. Okay, so we're today we are ranking the tracks of Eric Clapton's 24 Nights, the Blues Nights. Thank you, Brad. Behind me. So these are basically, as we all know, the 24 Nights is compiled from 42 concerts in 1990 and 91. The cover is an illustration by Peter Blake, if you didn't know, and it's just been reissued as a kind of definitive 24 Nights box set, remastered, and I don't know if they've remixed it, probably a bit. I think so. We, as I say, will be doing the Blues Nights. The Blues Nights are split into two halves, where the first half from 1990 and the second half from 1991, and there's a clear distinction between the two. There we are. Brad's holding up the stuff. Thank you, Brad. Whilst I talk. Later on, we'll be doing the rock nights and the orchestral nights as well. But today we're concentrating on the blues nights, which have been remastered and remixed. So I think anybody else want to say anything before we start ranking the tracks? Andrew, do you want to say anything else?
No,
Brad?
thank you.
No, I haven't done this in depth. I think sure everyone knows, when they were done and whatever. So just a brief introduction, just to think. We'll get into there's some details around it, which we'll get into when we're ranking the tracks.
I think
so.
What will make sure, Andrew, is at this point, I don't know if you can. You have to do it from Simon's side. Maybe just link the old show that we ranked for 24 Nights somewhere up there, so they can get all the introduction and that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely be including that on the link on here as well. Yep, I promise.
Yeah, that's true, and the stuff with Michael as well, because there is a lot of background in that, and Michael also's interview with the guy who mixed it live, and there's a lot of we've got a lot of background stuff on the channel. I'm supposed to go over large parts of that again, but yeah, Andrew, if you could put a link into that would be fantastic. I'm sure there's a relevant show that we've done already. Yeah. Okay, so the first track is "Key to the Highway," which is a classic Clapton track. I think he's done it lots and lots of times. There's lots of versions of him doing it. Clearly one of his favorites. And he comes on and he says, we're going to play a lot of blues tonight. We're not going to do much talking. I'm just going to play. And I think that's probably true. There's hardly any talking apart from the intro, and they just get on with it. And I think so. I'm sure everyone knows it's kind of Key to the Highway is a kind of medium tempo blues, A and D. Great, I think great swinging drums from Jamie Oldacre. I think he plays really well on this this album, Jamie Alden. He understands, gets the swing of these medium tempo blues, and I think that's always really important. That the rhythm section are in tune and get that swing. Richard Cousins on bass on this section. So Eric starts singing. He's clearly in fine voice, and I think he's really found his voice by this stage in his career, and his singing has matured into he's a really, really, really great singer, and he can carry it no problems at all. They all, and clearly this is an intro thing because they all kind of take a solo, don't they? So Eric takes a solo, and hopefully Brad, you correct me if I'm wrong about this. Then I think Buddy Guy takes the next one, and then Robert Cray takes the next one, and it's it feels like to me like it's a classic loosener, and Johnny Johnson as well, the piano player, Chuck Berry's old piano player. They all kind of it's a kind of loosener up, isn't it? It's a kind of a familiar tune. I've played this 1,000 times before. It's got a great swing. It's one of I would say this is one of his signature tunes that he plays, and he kind of closes it out. And I think it's a 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. A great opening track, and a great loosener for what's to come. Brad,
great work, Simon. I've just got to put it out there that obviously the blues nights are a lot different to the rock nights and the orchestra nights. If you're only listening to the blues stuff for the first time, please note that blues music and improvisation is very loose, and there's some structure there, but it's allowing each artist to have a space. And I'm going to talk about the reason I'm saying that now is because this is early in the piece, from my understanding of the blues nights. Key to the Highway, as you noted, Simon, is one of Eric's sort of signature songs, I guess, because he loves it so much. It's great to hear Eric sort of talk at the head of the song. Ironically, he says he won't do a lot of talking. And
yes,
yeah, it's ironic. I know he doesn't like to talk to the crowd. Actually, he just likes to play. Even when I saw him in 2007, 8 and stuff, I think it was very much the tone. He would say, "I'm not going to talk much. We're just going to play." And it starts off with that bluesy descending line twice through until the rest of the band come in. And the reason I mentioned that, blues music and jams with lots of guitarists and stuff on that, there's a certain amount of finding your space in the song, really. And even though it might have been rehearsed, it just sounds like to me each of the guitarists seem to be finding their space in the song. It's not a bad thing. They're doing it really well. Eric leads like a stylish, laid-back solo before the first line comes in, and Eric's voice just sounds so strong and powerful, dynamic. He's holding back where he needs to, and he's really pushing. I've said this before on other episodes about this period of time for Eric. I think it's his pinnacle, it's some of his best vocals that he's ever done. I think at this point in time, his voice is really strong. He's really focusing on it. That's not putting any other work down that he's done. I just think at this particular time, he was very much a vocalist as much as a guitar player. Previously, his voice was always like trying to come up to the level of his guitar playing. And I think at this point in his career, he finally got his vocal where the same level as his guitar playing is. And I'm used to hearing this song on the old 24 Nights packaging. I'm hearing a lot more crispness in the overtones here, especially on the drums and bass. Jamie Aldica, as you mentioned, Simon, is solid as a rock. And I think throughout this whole Blues Nights performances, he is like holding everyone together because everyone's sort of just looking. There's moments of like who's doing what on stage. You can see the chemistry between the guitar players. They're looking up, sort of thing. They might have things that they knew they were going to do, and then there's other things that are completely improvised. So yeah, Jamie Aldica holds it all together. The first main guitar solo after the verses and everything like that is taken by Eric, and he plays beautifully over the top of like the rhythm section. And by this stage, Robert Cray and Buddy Guy seem to be, they've found their place in the song already, and they're holding a wonderful rhythm down. You can really identify, visually, once you've seen it, you can really identify Robert Cray's playing and Buddy Guy's playing and Eric Clapton's playing. So they really find their place at this point while Eric's soloing. Then a little bit of confusion comes in. We hear Buddy Guy solo, and they're sort of overlapping each other a little bit because they're not sure who's next. Buddy Guy comes in and graces us with his stylings and his interplay, and then Robert Cray comes in, and without a doubt, he's a smooth operator on the guitar. He's got that quacky tone. You know, it's Robert Cray. He's an amazing guitar player in his own right. There's a wonderful piano solo from Johnny Johnson. Another verse from Eric, we hear him singing, and then another guitar solo. And Eric plays extremely well. He's fluent on the guitar. He's right at home. He's bending his feel. His eyes are back in his head. His head's back. He's just playing from his heart. And that's what we love so much about Eric Clapton. And look, he's really at home playing the blues. And I want to note in these first few songs, Eric's definitely using his soldano later in the I think it's the second different performance you see Fenders at that point. And there is quite a contrast in tone. If you're a tone junkie and you love the soldano strat tone that he uses, you're in for a treat with this one. I gave it 10 out of 10, 100 out of 10. It's never a skip, guys. Andrew.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic. I'm glad that Brad and Simon have had folks the opportunity to pour over this this release, and in Brad's case, especially look at the DVD or the Blu-ray video performances. So he's going to offer a lot more insight, folks, than the Rock Professor or I, at least on this segment of the packaging. Look, I got to agree with you. There's a couple of things that we need to talk about. Obviously, rest in peace, Jamie. You know, as Holly said, he was from Oklahoma, Tulsa. Played in Eric Clapton's live bands for a long, long time in the early 70s. One of the reasons why Eric was so successful as a live performer, Simon and Brad, is because he had Jamie as his drummer, solid drummer. And it just goes to show. Doesn't probably get enough support and love, I think, out there, but certainly on this channel we'll make a point of celebrating these individuals when we can. So rest in peace, Jamie, and thank you for your contributions. Outstanding drummer. I've got to agree with you, Brad, too. You know, the Derek and the Dominoes version will always be in the back of my mind the pinnacle of this song. 8-bar blues, folks, not 12-bar. So it's really good to jam along when you've got 12 bars under your belt and you want to sort of break out and do some John John Petrucci blues, Brad, to go and play some 8 bars. You know, this is one that can trick you if you're not up to play. But as Brad and the Rock Professor said, Eric loves this song. How many versions of this song, guys, has he done over the years? You know, I never get sick of this version. It was probably one of the first blues songs that I could play right through. So I have a personal connection to this song. I love the keyboards, Brad, on this song. I don't know who's playing the keys. Maybe you can.
Johnny Johnson.
Okay, it is Johnny Johnson. So no wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Yeah, no wonder. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
No wonder the keys on this song takes it to another level. Love the jam. I haven't quite given it Brad's score. I've given it an 8 out of 10. It's a solid opener. It's not my favourite version of the song, but I love all versions of Key to the Highway. I think it's a great song. Rock Professor.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's a couple of things occurred to me when we were talking. That thing about not talking. I read in his biography. He talked about having to go out and play Tears in Heaven not long after Connor had died, and he would go out and he would start with it, which is bold, but he said that it was really weird to go out and the crowd would be going nuts and shouting and whistling and stuff, and he's having to play this really sensitive song, and he says, I didn't know how to cope because I didn't have the stagecraft to be able to deal with it. And I think that's a very interesting point, and I think clearly that thing about, as a performer, what you need to have is the ability to talk to the audience. Morning, Crappy. And that ability to be able to, in some instances, control the audience, what they do. And and I can remember Bruce Springsteen doing a solo acoustic guitar tour, in the late 90s, I think, but where it's theaters, and he would make everybody had to be quiet, to listen, kind of thing, and he was clearly able to calm. And I think it's really interesting that even in the early 90s, Eric didn't feel like he had the stagecraft to be able to control the audience, and part of that is the communication, that verbal communication with the audience, so it isn't surprising to me, having read that he says we're not going to do much talking, we're just going to play some blues, and that's exactly what he does. But,
when you're drunk off your face, Simon, it doesn't matter, but when you're sober, it does.
Oh yeah, suddenly you notice, don't you?
Yeah. When he's sober, he realizes, my gosh, there's no barrier now between me, my band, and the audience. So he's got to deliver. When you're smashed off your face, Brad, I'm not saying that you've ever done that, Simon or Brad. Maybe the Rock Professor when there's half a pint, half a pint.
I tell you what, talking to that, I only once I think I maybe had 2 or 3 drinks before we played a gig, and it was terrible.
Yeah,
it
I
was
can't
like
play
I
Smash.
I can't do it. So it's like I can't. And this, I wasn't smashed. I've maybe 3 drinks, but even 3 drinks was two more than I needed to really focus and concentrate. And it was and I remember thinking at the time, this is terrible. I've lost control of it. So I never did it again, to be honest. And well, it was fine because he used to drive to gigs, But yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not able to do it. I know people who are, but I'm never able to do it. Anyway, so only a small digression after the first song. Good work, team.
Well, you're the one taking us there.
Me? Are you blaming me?
You mentioned team. There's no I in team, eh?
There's me, though. There's a me in team. Anyway, enough of that. Anyway, so track two is Worried Life Blues. This is slow blues, so they're getting into a slow, more soulful groove here. The intro is kind of Eric playing pretty sensitively, holding it back, playing beautifully but sensitively, and just the bass and the snare just holding it down. They know what to do. And I'm interested that Jim made a comment that this concert, they didn't really rehearse it. It was very much improvised as a gig. So if so, as I say, the Richard Cousins and Jamie Olnick really do a fantastic job of holding it together, holding it down.
Wow.
Then Eric comes in, great passionate singing from Eric, and I think that, as we said, he's in fine voice and fine control of his voice. Clearly sobriety suits him, and his voice is at full blast, and he sings beautifully. It's beautifully passionate singing, and fantastic interplay between Eric and Johnny Johnson on the piano. That kind of interplay they do, which is classic guitar and piano thing. Beautifully done, and and then Johnny takes the solo, and is introduced by Eric Clapton. It's one of the things, it's clearly showcased, loosening up, and then I think Eric solos to the end, and it's a beautiful song, beautifully done by Eric. 9 out of 10 from me, never a skip. Really great stuff. Brad.
Yeah, look, Worried Life Blues. I love this version of it, and Clapton really has that real delicate tone at the start of the song on the intro, and that seems to continue through the song for the most part. Some really delicate sort of piano playing from Johnny Johnson, and which is predominantly the rhythm in the song, and the guitars from Buddy Guy and Robert Cray are very subtle in the background, the rhythm guitars. Clapton's voice sounds very rich and warm. He's really holding back and giving where it needs to, but really sort of dynamically using his voice. There's some beautiful playing from Eric during the verses as well, the lead guitar parts and the stuff he's doing between the vocals. And the song builds wonderfully, verse after verse. And then we hear a fantastic solo from Johnny Johnson and on the piano. And the feel behind him is just wonderful, the way the band just sort of allows Johnny to shine, give him the space. And that's a seasoned professional that, you can stand on stage and be, Robert Cray, Buddy Guy, or Eric Clapton, and you let someone take a spotlight, and not overplay and not try to overpower that. Let the artist breathe, let them have that shine. And it's a wonderful solo. And then you hear Clapton comes in soloing, and we know that classic Clapton slow hand thing, the space between the notes and the feel, the tone, it's all part of his DNA, the way he plays with his hands. It's all coming through the Stratocaster and through the Soldano. The tone of the guitar sounds a little bit spanky compared to what I remembered from the original recordings of 24 Nights, but that's not to say it's bad. I enjoyed it. It's really good. And, I would expect, I guess, in time, things to change with mixes and new releases as opposed to old mixes. Or I guess you don't want it to be the same all the way through. It's nice to hear. It's great because you're hearing certain things that you weren't hearing before. There's certain things that we'll go into a bit later with the mixes where some things are a little bit soft and whatnot. But this is a fantastic song. And Eric, the way he sings with conviction and really emphasizes the blues and his stylings. There's some great footage throughout the performance as well, which is fantastic to see. I gave it 9 out of 10, guys. Never a skip. Andrew.
Wow. Again, stellar contributions from Brad and the Rock Professor, and obviously everyone else in the chat. We got Jazz Thunder in here saying no, going to the pub and drinking before a gig. Brad's always going to be a disaster. Yes. We've all done it a couple of times, my lord. And then we've got Crappy Luxury in here, ranking as well, and Derek's given it a 9 out of 10. Look, I have to agree with you guys. I think it's a great song. I love the intro. The intro is brilliant, isn't it? Those notes just peel off that Stratocaster. Ping off. Just ping off. It's fantastic. And as Brad and the Rock Professor said, Eric sings beautifully on this track. The vocal performance from the previous one to this one, it's just remarkable. And there's something about a Strat, isn't there, guys? With an amp slightly in overdrive. There's just something nice about that, and we hear that. Just going to add one thing to the controversy, because Brad brought it up, about the remixes and remastering and stuff like that. I'm going to add my little comment to it. When the Derek and the Dominoes remastering came out a couple of years ago, Bobby Whitlock was critical of it because he said that Eric Clapton's guitars were pushed way forward than in the original mix. And I suspect Brad and Simon, well, I know from listening, that's exactly what they've done with this remix. They've pushed Clapton's, the guitars especially, a little bit more forward, which isn't a bad thing because it's a guitar-driven album, isn't it? Clapton is a guitar-driven band, so I don't have a problem with that, Simon. If you don't like it, go back and listen to the originals. I've given this, Brad, a 9 out of 10 as well. I was just about going to give it a 10 out of 10, but I'm going to stick with it. Going to stick with my 9, Rock Professor.
Yeah, I have a theory about that. About I think when you come to mix these things, we're talking about it being a live record, so therefore there is a certain amount of, and maybe Jim can remember this but I feel like when you're sitting there, what you don't want to do is turn it into a studio album, which is a different thing, a different way of mixing, a different experience. What you're trying to do is reflect the experience of the night and a live band playing. And doing that, you're having to think about it and mix it in a different way. I think, so you position the instruments in the mix, and clearly, Derek Cousins, Jamie Oldacre, and Eric are the core to this, with Johnny Johnson. So you've got that core, and then you've got Buddy Guy and Robert Cray, and you have to position them in the mix. But you also got to position them in the mix with regard to when they were playing live, and I think that possibly some, and Jim, I don't know if you can remember this, but that actually that might be a reflection of what it was like on the night. Eric's playing with a Soldano, which is quite a, and he's 20 dB button and things, which gives it a, quite a lot of push and quite a lot. He might have been quite a lot louder than Buddy Guy and Robert Cray. Because if they're just playing, Fender amps or whatever, it's not going to be the same thing, and they're going to be, so be interesting to see whether Jim can remember, because I think he went in 1990 to see this, so he has remembers seeing it live. But I think you've also got to reflect that, haven't you, when you're doing this, mixing this type of thing, you've got to reflect how it actually was on the night. Because otherwise, as I say, you remix it and do it as if it were a studio album. It becomes a studio album and doesn't become that live experience that you would expect and maybe have experienced at the time. Sorry, I don't know if that holds any water, but that's my theory.
Good theories.
But I think I've never mixed one myself, but Brad, I don't know if you've ever had involved in any mixing of live records and stuff and how you approach it, but my assumption is that it's quite a different thing. You have to approach it in a different way.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I just think, I don't know, maybe I think there's more difference on the rock things than there are than the orchestral versions, and than this one maybe. It's a bit more straightforward on here, but I can see that's why you might have a difference in the level of the instruments. But anyway, so the third track is "You Better Watch Yourself." So it's a bit more up tempo again, picking it up. Great again. I'll say it again. Great swinging drums from Jamie Oldacre. Absolutely setting the right tempo and making it swing along. Eric plays a great intro and sings, and I think it has something of a menace about it, doesn't it? You better watch yourself, kind of thing. As the way that he sings it in that half kind of spoken kind of, there's a warning in there, isn't there? To us, the audience. Okay, Eric, we're watching ourselves. Easy, Tiger. But well, putting some drama into it, and that's fantastic. That's really good. I think, Brad, you can come along. I think Robert Cray takes the first solo, and then Buddy Guy takes the second one. Again, giving everybody, a chance to, you do it. It's I don't know. It's clear this is a Buddy Guy song, so I don't know whether he felt a bit daunted playing next to the guy whose song it is. I think I would feel a bit daunted by that, but it's kind of thing. But great solos both, and I think that difference in the mix and things. It's and it's okay. I didn't feel particularly bothered by it. I just think there's difference in the mixes, and that's I'm great for just taking things at face value, and it's like that's how it is now, and what's the vibe, what's the feel, is it actually, is it working? I don't sit there and say, I think this should come up a bit or whatever very much, even on these things. Could I say I've had tremendous difficulty with this record in ranking it, because you start off, I just get my guitar out and start noodling or something. Then 4 tracks have gone by and I haven't done anything. I've took no notes, no nothing, just jammed my way through. It's like, this isn't going to be anywhere. I should be glad we get the orchestral stuff. I shall feel less need to get my violin out and start scraping away. But So I think everyone takes a solo. You know, Eric solos later on and stuff. You know, and there is some film of him playing on this. I did watch this and think, and there's a fantastic bit where he kind of smiles to himself, doesn't he? He's singing, "You better watch yourself," and there's a big smile on his face, and you know, and you think he's enjoying himself, and that's fantastic to see. You know, just a little thing, but really cool. So, and he plays brilliantly on this as ever, Eric, and I think it's again, when you get that kind of jam feel about it, you know, that they're. You know, you do 12 bars, I'll do 12 bars, and we'll go around and then we'll knock it off, you know, kind of thing. But I never felt like it was amateur hour, not by a countryman. You know, I think it's they're all brilliant players and they all know what to do, and you don't need to worry about it. One of my favourites, 9 out of 10 for me, never a skip. You know, great version of it. Really enjoyed it. Brad.
Reading a lot of my notes here. I think, Simon, you're reading your notes.
Well,
but,
I'm relying on you to correct me if I get the order of the guitarists wrong or something. Hard if you can't see.
You better watch yourself. Yeah, you guys better watch yourselves, all right? It's a wonderful version of this song, and I always go back to this version in my head whenever I hear this song. This is one of my favorite ones, versions of this song. Starts off, you know, with that wonderful blues licks and the accents. I love the way it starts. It's followed by the vocals coming in from Eric, and he's crooning a lot in this song, like he's a blues elder. He's really focusing on trying to sound like an old blues man, and some wonderful guitar playing from Robert Cray and Buddy Guy during the verses. And Jamie Aldica, as I said, is really the backbone of the Blues Nights here. He's holding it down tight while there's a little bit of confusion on stage with the 3 guitar players. There's a good shot of the bass player at one point, and the drummer, they're sort of huddled. The bass player's sort of leaning over a little bit over the hi-hat. You guys will see that, I'm sure. It's I love that. I love to see that they're keeping it tight. They're making sure that, hey, these guys up front, they can do whatever the hell they like. We're going to keep it tight. Yeah, we're going to keep it together. And they're like a solid. So the first solo starts off like Robert Cray and Eric are sort of playing together. That Eric's aware of like Robert Cray starting to solo, so he pulls back. He pulls back and lets Robert Cray sort of go. And this is what I'm saying. There's a little bit of confusion on stage, and that they look at each other, and Eric sort of starts playing over the top of Robert and realizes it, and a professional pulls back, lets Robert Cray have the solo. The next solo is definitely Buddy Guy, playing only the way Buddy Guy can play. Some blistering runs and quirky lines. He's undeniably Buddy Guy. You know, if you've been a fan of Buddy Guy before this, you know it's Buddy Guy. He's quirky. He loves. He's a performer, and we'll talk about that a little bit more on some of the songs he sings. Again, Eric's vocals are strong, warm. He's really emphasizing the blues stylings of his heroes in his voice. You know, Eric closes with another solo, incorporating lots of space and feel. Look, I gave it a 9 out of 10. If there was no confusion in the solos, it was a little bit sort of on the money. I would have given it a 10 out of 10, but 9 out of 10, never a skip, guys. Andrew.
Who just popped in? Johnny
Heartbreaker.
Johnny Heartbreaker popped into the chat. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, I thought the guitars in this mix, Brad and Simon and folks in the chat, were just a little bit behind compared to the previous tracks. The guitars weren't as forward in the first couple of tracks. And I'm going to stand by that because I listened to it about 15 times, guys. So there's definitely something going on with the sound of the guitars. I've got to agree with Brad too. You know, I'm familiar with what Brad's described, and you know, but that's one of the beauties of it being a live performance. So let's give them a break here. You know, they're up there. And I wasn't aware that they hadn't rehearsed this until the show this evening. So, if that's the case, even better, because they managed to sort of sort that out, Brad, a lot quicker than probably what not mere mortals would have done. Love the keys again on this, Brad and Simon. Love the keys. The keys shine. I love the nice tempo that's going along. I think the tempo kind of helps the song, doesn't it? You know, it's not a slower tempo where I think maybe some of these mistakes that Brad has pointed out would have been quite glaring. But again, you go back to the rhythm section, because the rhythm section's always going to continue and push it forward, aren't they? They're always going to. Doesn't matter what the guitar player does, or he turns around and looks or whatever, the drummer and the bass is still going to go, aren't they?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it's a wonderful example, wonderful experience of the musicianship of these cats. I've given this an 8.5 out of 10, never a skip, and I do look forward to watching it on Blu-ray when it comes out.
Yeah. It's a Jim. I was just saying. Jim said that his memory of it is that the new version is closer to the original shows. Eric's guitar, prominent, always cut through. Buddy got louder as the show went on.
Correct.
So clearly, there's some kind of reflection on what the actual sound of the shows were. And I know Derek says he was surprised the mix hadn't been fixed. And I think then you get into the Derek. It's a good point, and I think it's really. How much do you fix things? How much do you go, well, I'm going to push all that, I'm going to redo all the guitars, I'm going to push them up so that they're in the right, so that as if it were a studio album? Or are you saying, that's how it was on the night, if I put everything, and that's, so I'm going to stick with recreating what it was on the night. And, clearly from what Jim said, that's probably the case. And you have a artistic decision to make, don't you? Or maybe even, and I don't I presume you could have taken their guitars and pushed them up in the mix and kind of remixed it all accordingly and things. But I think maybe then do people say, oh well, you've completely messed around, it's not like the performance that I saw, it's a completely different thing. I think you're on a hiding to nothing, aren't you? Either way, you're hiding to nothing about whether you do you fix things a bit, do you and then people will be going, oh, you turned it up too much, too little, too little. Oh, I don't know. I think it's a very difficult. So clearly Simon Climby's made the decision that that's how it's going to work with Eric and co. And personally, I think it's fine. I think it's one thing I've learned from here, and we've done a lot of live albums on here, is that recreating that live experience is a different mixing challenge than doing a studio album, and you've got to have that kind of room, and you've got to have that kind of where things are in the mix. It's not just a case of mixing it like a studio album, unless you re-recorded everything afterwards.
I'll just quickly elaborate. I'm not sure whether they had the track for track original mixes, or whether they just had stereo mixes they could polish up and remaster and fix. I don't know. Someone in the chat or someone watching this later might be able to elaborate on that. Did they have the track individual tracks that they could mix again, or was it some sort of stereo mix that they just sort of mastered and fixed up? Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. But, audio producing, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, it's I'll have a look at that. No, that's true. I think you're right, Derek. I don't think it would have been intended, but I think that's probably possibly where they were. When everybody's on stage and getting somewhere with it. No.
Yeah.
No, indeed. Anyway, so the next track is "Have You Ever Loved a Woman," which again is another classic Clapton track. He's done this many times before. And I'm sure, oh, look, it's Michael. Michael's awake. Michael also, good morning, Michael. 3:35 a.m. in New York. glad to see you're up and checking up on us to make sure we're doing a good job. I hope you're well, Michael. And Mr. Regular gigging musician himself he's out there on weekends. So well done to you. Fantastic stuff. So yeah, Have You Ever Loved a Woman? Classic Clapton track. I think he's done it. One of his the staples of his live shows for over many years. As we all know, slow, soulful blues song. I think that kind of walking bass line. He plays and sings beautifully, doesn't he? Have you ever loved a woman so much you tremble in pain? And I feel that singing from experience from his point of view. Sings it. So much passion, so much emotion in the singing. That I'll say it again. He's become a great singer, Eric, and a great interpretive singer of these lyrics. And he has that call and response with the piano. I think there's definitely the him and the Johnny Johnson show on this. Tinkling piano underneath and around what he's playing, and beautiful coloration from the piano as well. I think it makes a difference. And I think that interesting. He does a great solo, Eric, and then there's that kind of thing where the other guitars play. Eric's in the middle, and they're on either side of the mix towards the end, and they kind of play around each other, which is pretty cool. I think it's clearly quite jammed, but sounds good and sounds caught up in there, kind of in the moment, playing together, communicating together. I think it's fantastic. 8.5 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Great track. Andrew.
Brad.
Sorry, Brad. What am I talking about? Mucking with the order already. Yes.
You can go next, Andrew, if you want to. But
we've got to save his voice.
Have You Ever Loved a Woman? This is a wonderful version of the song. I mean, we've heard this prior to this release coming out, but it's still always a pleasure to watch, and there's some wonderful footage throughout the Blu-ray of this performance. That wonderful delicate blues guitar playing from Eric at the start of the song, while Richard Cousins sort of putting the bass line down really delicately and pulling it together tight with Johnny Johnson, while Jamie's sort of keeping time on the hi-hat. Eric's vocals in this are outstanding, and like I said at the head of this, this is Eric at his peak as a vocalist. He's on par vocally with his guitar playing on this performance. He sings with conviction. He's really owning the vocals of the song and the lyrical content. He might be drawing on his own experiences with the lyrics in this song. I don't know if you guys have thought of that, but have you ever loved a woman? It sounds like for me a story that he's been in a love triangle before, so I'll leave it at that. But he sings with conviction. We hear an amazing guitar solo from Eric. It's wonderful how Eric can put that real emotion into the solo and make you feel like you're experiencing that raw emotion with him. It's a real art form that he can do that. We hear some dynamic changes underneath the solo with some great rhythm parts, especially the Robert Cray part I'm hearing there. And I think you alluded to that a little bit, Simon, the rhythm guitar parts there. We hear like another verse, which leads us to a remarkably powerful solo from Eric again. Look, like I said, he's pouring his own experiences into playing the guitar and vocals in his performance. I love this song. I've always loved this song. It's one of my favorites throughout the night performance. I have to give this one my first 100 out of 10 and never a skip, just for Eric's voice, and his playing on this song is remarkable. Andrew.
Yeah, look, I have to agree with you, and there's a couple of other cool comments in the chat too that people are making in regards to the song. Eric never fails to deliver on this song. It's one of my favourite songs, that he's ever performed on all the versions, even the drunk bootleg versions in the 70s where he's singing this song. It's just a remarkable song. And as Brad said, there's some kind of connection to Clapton with this song, and we all know why. It's on Layla, the Layla album. The version on Layla album's stunning. We all know why, so we don't need to reiterate what that is. If you want to know why, go back and watch our 2 show epic that we did on the Layla show, where we discussed that in depth.
Share that.
Yeah, we'll share that. Got to agree with what my co-host is saying too, ladies and gentlemen, here on Eric's vocals on this performance. It's remarkable. He has, so this is where he starts singing, and he's holding that note on the last, on the last note, he holds it, which is, the sign of a great singer. He doesn't do that all the time when he sings, folks. He just normally sings, but sometimes, he gets into a rhythm where he can hold that note, and he does that. Brad and Simon, we love Stratocasters on this show, but there is something about the confidence that a guitar player has, doesn't he or she, when they're playing a Stratocaster without any overdrive to present a solo and play fluidly without making any mistakes. You can hide behind some overdrive, Brad and Simon, when you're doing a solo. You can hide behind it, but when you're playing pretty clean, you got to get it right, and he gets it right. I've got to agree with Brad, and I think Alan's given it a 10 out of 10. Hugh's given it a 10 out of 10. I think the Rock Professor's got to go back and renegotiate his score.
What did I say? What
did you say?
Well, I gave it a 9 out of 10, but I don't think I said that. I think I gave it 8. Did I not say 8.5?
Yes, you gave it a low score.
I haven't. I've read it out wrong, which is funnier than that, because I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Really, I think I said 8.5 out of 10.
That's right.
I was clearly reading not reading the right song. It's like.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll let him get away, Brad, with a 9.5
Sorry about that.
out of 10.
Yes, I can't read my own notes, and I've typed them.
We're nearly going to time you out there, Simon.
Yeah.
I realised halfway through, you're thinking, I just said 8.5 out of 10, didn't I? Idiot. I've written 9 out of 10, so clearly I can't even read my own written. Yes. So sorry, guys.
No problem. Glad we managed to get you on the corrected line, on the party line here, folks. No deviations from the party line will be tolerated. So back to business, back to work. Okay. So the point that I made about Clapton playing without any distortion and having the confidence as a guitar player to do this unrehearsed is even more epic. Brad score. I've got to agree with everybody else in the chat. I love it.
Cool. Good work.
Okay.
So, yes. So anyway, attempting to write my own notes, read my notes. The next track is Everything's Gonna Be All Right. Walter Jacobs song. Walter Jacobs. Interestingly, there's kind of the way it's programmed. This is a kind of more sprightly blues. They seem to do fast, slow, fast, slow, fast. So on the sort of alternate between the two things. I noticed that as a kind of programming thing. I like to try and work out what the programming is, and that's what it seems to be: fast, slow kind of thing. So this is a bit more sprightly. I think Buddy Guy sings this. I'm hoping I'm right about this. That's right.
Yeah,
so
I think you might be right.
Yeah, and there's a that's good. It's, as I say, I don't have a Blu-ray player. I discovered yesterday. It's like I can't watch any. Oh dear. So anyway, I need to get one. But so I'm going with Buddy Guy singing. So, and there's this long intro that isn't it that he does in this kind of long meandering intro. It's like a minute before he does any singing. Great. He's the one of the old guys of the blues, isn't he, Buddy Guys? The bastions of the great blues tradition, and holds it up. Now, I think the first solo is Eric. Brad, correct me if I'm wrong about this. Nod for God's sake, which is great solo again, coming in, giving it, and then there's a second solo. I don't know whether it's Buddy Guy or Robert Cray. Either way, it's a great solo, and they're going round again, and then you've got that kind of drop down where he says, let's get funky, kind of a Buddy Guy. Let's do it. And then you've got just the bass, the guitar, and the piano as well. And mention of the piano here again, great playing from Johnny Johnson, supporting just the hi-hat keeping time, just not just taking it right down. And then he kind of sings over a kind of, in that muted kind of background, just sings over it to the end, basically. It's as I say, it's quite a sort of slow. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. It's not a skip, but it's a bit more of a mood piece. Brad.
Okay, so it is definitely Buddy Guy on vocals. So everything's going to be all right. Buddy comes in, everything's going to be all right when he takes over lead vocals. Okay, it's a great intro to the song. Buddy Guy sings amazingly. I mean, he's a seasoned professional. He comes across that comes across in his performance. The mix, it's a shame that all three guitars definitely in this song, there seems to be different volumes going on with the guitars here. Would have been great to hear more of Buddy Guy's guitar. Eric's the first to solo, and we hear some really classic slow hand blues guitar playing on the neck pickup here. It's it's Eric playing, and it's undeniably Eric. Sounds fantastic. Second solo is taken by Robert Cray. It seems a little soft in the mix as well, but it sounds fantastic, and certainly does have a unique Strat style. Robert Cray is Robert Cray. It's him. He breaks a string right through towards the end of his solo.
Oh, does he? Right.
And he just continues to play on. He's a seasoned professional. He's a wonderful guitar player. He knows his way around the blues, and he doesn't need to worry about breaking a string. So he just continues on. I love how Buddy Guy brings the song down. And he goes, "We can bring it down so we can smell the funk." I love that about Buddy Guy, and I've seen Buddy Guy perform here at the Arts Centre in Melbourne about 8 or 10 years ago. I think it was maybe about 10, and it was like watching history in front of me. I can't describe it. I was emotional all night without like crying like a baby. I was emotional all night because I was watching something that I drew all my influences of everything I've known from Buddy Guy into that. And that's the thing. He's a performer. He knows how to do it. And everyone watches him in admiration, including Eric. He looks starstruck, the way that, Buddy Guy's acknowledging him. I think it's an amazing friendship they have. And I love how at the ending, Buddy Guy insists everything's going to be all right. And the way that the song ends sounds really rehearsed. And well done, Buddy, for the praise towards Eric. Like I said, Eric looks starstruck by the way, one of his heroes is praising him. It's very cool. 8 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Andrew.
Wow. Again, outstanding discussions by my co-hosts. And Michael, you're right. Can you believe that we're discussing 24 nights? Michael, we do look forward, once we've done the rankings, we're going to have a round table chat. I sent you a message. We're going to get you on. Hopefully we can organise a time and we can sit down and for a couple of hours, the four of us and maybe another guest, get Jim on, and we'll just geek out on the package. So we look forward to organising a bit of a round table with folks, Simon and Brad.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice the Sweet Home Chicago riff on this track.
Yes.
You know, classic blues riff track, you know, behind countless songs. And again, if you're a budding guitar player, it's a riff that you got to know. It's a riff that you got to be able to learn, go and learn and play it. Go and learn to play it, and you can play 50,000 songs, Brad, can't you, with that riff? You'll be fine. It's an epic song, and I'm glad that you guys have mentioned Buddy Guy, and I do look forward one day soon on the channel. We're going to be doing a Buddy Guy album, folks. I promise you.
Ooh.
Long overdue. Long overdue. The influence that Derek has said in the comments here that he did, that he provided for Eric and for Keith Richards, it's just phenomenal. So there's a connection there. We'll definitely be doing that. And Brad, we're all familiar, being Stevie Ray Vaughan fans with this. Hey, everybody likes a bit of Buddy Guy. Everybody likes a bit of Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy. Relax.
Yeah. You know, even Stevie Ray Vaughan has said it a few times. Look, it's a great song. A great version of this, a great interpretation of a blues song. I'm going to sort of back up what the Rock Professor said there before and provide a bit of insight for you guys. These blues guys can't help themselves. So one of the reasons why they play a fast song and a slow song and a fast song and a slow song is because when they're in the jute joints back in the day, they've got to provide an opportunity for people to go and get drinks, you know. So they're always going to do that, you know. Or go and have a cuddle, Brad, you know. So that's why these blues guys do it. They're providing the environment for their audience. Look, I'm going to give this 8.5 out of 10, Brad and Simon. It's never a skip. Buddy cooks later on, though, folks.
Oh yeah.
Cooking later on. Cool. Okay. So the next track is Something on Your Mind, which again is a Buddy Guy's performance. He's the lead person. Slow, soulful blues. And you know, Buddy Guy sings out of his skin on this, doesn't he? You know, it's amazing. You know, he's got that blues thing, and he's imparting it to us in an amazing way on this track. Again, those kind of steady bass and drums, just holding down the beat, not doing anything spectacular, but just, you know, filling it in. Nice one. So again, you've got that clean guitar playing as well. They're very clean sounds, aren't they? So I don't know what it it's a contrast to Eric's guitar, that kind of very clean, kind of almost glacial guitar tone, isn't it? Is it a Telecaster? I think it probably is a Telecaster, isn't it? I don't know if it's or a Strat. But yeah, it's a Strat. But very, you know, it's very glacial tone, isn't it? It's a kind of is that what Bob Dylan called that wild Mercury sound? Beautiful phrase. He plays. Then there's a second guitar that's playing an octave lower under him, sort of playing the same thing, but an octave lower. That's really cool. Great piano playing as well, adding color to the song. You know, but this is about the soul of of Buddy Guy, and this is about him doing it. There's a great interplay between Cray and Guy in towards the middle of the song, and then at 4, so yeah, you've got that kind of breakdown, you know, and he's singing yeah, you know, and that if I ever cross your mind, elongated out, it's just fantastic, beautiful. So, and I like the bit at the end where he says, "Hope I don't mess up here." To kind of to himself, note to self, might be right. And then that kind of quiet chord to finish. Another 8.5 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. You know, fine version of this. Brad.
Yeah.
Get around the right way.
Something on Your Mind. Delicate vocal intro from Buddy Guy. He really is the showman. He steals the show when he's up front. Yeah, some wonderful mellow blues guitar playing from Robert Cray and Eric. while, Buddy Guy's sort of singing, and, drums and bass are very laid back with a rim shot feel, and the piano colors, from Johnny Johnson, the song wonderfully. But Buddy Guy's voice is amazing. He really makes you feel like what he's feeling, and he's pushing his vocal. He sucks you in with his vocal line, let alone his guitar playing. But then, hey, his guitar solo, it's blistering. There's those blistering notes. He slurs across strings. There's lots of space, great feel. Buddy's he's a performer. Buddy sings another verse, and his solo sings like he's a soul singer, is what I'm trying to say. He's a funk soul singer. I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie Coming to America, and that thing, that advert, you got that soul glow, that thing.
Whoa, it's uncanny.
And it's just he's a soul singer, and he really is the performer. I gave it 8 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew.
Good to see John ZD351 in the chat, guys. We were talking about you earlier, John ZD351. Sorry to hear that you've been eating some bad food. Get better. And thanks for the backup comment about Hoss. As I said, folks, one of the reasons why Hoss is not on here like he was is because Hoss is busy. He's a full-time musician. He's gigging, and just and we do all these shows on the weekend, folks. So, yeah.
When he's out playing, absolutely earning a living.
Yeah. So, but he's always got a permanent invitation to jump on any show with us. He knows that, folks. As my co-host said, Buddy's vocals like velvet. And light went off in my mind when Brad said something about him being a soul singer. I never thought of that. But I think you're right, Brad. I think that's one of the reasons why he sings, his vocals is so effortless and it's like velvet, is because he has that soul kind of approach to singing. So thanks for pointing that out to me. After all these years, I never made that connection. I like the fact that he's laid back and he's got that groove and that ability to do that, to provide that laid back environment for the music, for the other musicians to hang in there if they want to. It's a great lesson, isn't it, for guitar players to listen to a song like this, to pick up on that, just to hold back. You don't need to run. Don't need to, just. And I think that's a lesson in itself, isn't it, Brad and Simon? And everybody else that plays in the chat. Being able to hang back is a lot harder for us. So if you listen to great songs like this, there's a lesson there. It's a remarkable song. I've given this 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip. Simon.
One thing that slightly fooled me about this, and I had to go back about 3 times before I worked out what's going on, was at the end, Eric introduces Jimmy Vaughan on slide. And I'm like, there's no slide guitar on that, is there? And I go back and listen to it and go, where's the slide guitar? There isn't any. And then I realised what was going on. But yes, it did take me about 3 goes to realise that this is the swap over between the 2 bands, and basically what is introducing Jimmy Vaughan for the 1991 band, not the 1991. But yeah, I did go back and listen very intently for slide guitar that isn't there. So well done me for misinterpreting it completely. But we are at the turnaround stage, so I think are we going to do pictures, Andrew?
Yeah, we got some pictures here, folks.
Half time.
All right. So John ZD351 is in the chat. So just give me a second, folks. Get the right one. So where are we? So brought to you this week by these 3 guys. The 4th guy had to cut him out.
Yeah.
Got rid of him.
Who was
so
that?
that's fair wheel.
And I'm glad that I'm still Eric, and that's an outrageous slur on Brad if ever I saw one.
No, I like the denim jacket. I like the denim
really.
Thank you, John, and this one here too.
Yeah,
you're amazing. We appreciate your wit and humour.
Oh, cheers, fantastic.
So that's the cover
straight and narrow.
for the blues night, folks. Again, it's keeping in vogue with the original 24 Nights packaging. You either love it or you don't love it. I know that some people over the years have not liked it. That's one of the first compilations that came out in Japan in the early 90s, Brad. I don't know if you had that or seen this, but there's still pics there of the guys from the actual night.
Look at that.
Or from
That's
the
a
gig.
lineup for you. That's a lineup for you, isn't it? Yeah.
They did pretty well there.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Buddy Guy. Everyone likes a bit of Buddy Guy.
Oh, yeah.
The besuited Buddy Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Looking cool as hell.
He's just always got a remarkable outfit on, regardless of what he's wearing. He stands out.
Yeah.
So notice the amps there, guys. All Fenders.
Yeah, that's a great picture. Great picture.
All Fender amps, all mic'd up. No Soldanos there.
No. We'll talk about
Eric's
that.
Do you think Eric's is further over to the right, Andrew, not in that picture?
Yeah, he's got the tweed ones. Tweed Fenders.
You think he's using the tweed, is he?
Yeah.
You think those are... I think...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a great
He's not using a Soldano for most of those.
Not in 91.
Nights. There's a pic. That's from 91. You can tell because Eric's got shorter hair there.
Yep. Great pic.
And Buddy Guy's not playing a Strat. He's playing a Guild.
Yep.
And what's this one here? That's Buddy giving Eric a cuddle.
Yeah. They're very... have a very wonderful admiration for each other, don't they? You can see it in Eric's face when they're performing on the Blu-ray. On some of the songs we're going to come up to now. He has he looks starstruck. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the last pick, folks, this is one that I stole off the Eric Clapton's Across 24 Nights. Brad and I did a show, did a review on that on the channel, so I'll put a link to that. And before we went and saw that, I had Michael, if Michael's still in the chat, Michael and I spent a couple of hours talking about this re-release on the channel a couple of months ago too, so we'll include that video link here. So there'll be a few video links, Brad and Simon, on the show.
Yeah, cool. Well, we've got history, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So great pictures and fantastic stuff. So just so I'm clear about it, on 1990 he uses the Soldanos, and on 91 he's gone back to the tweeds. Is that right? Is that how I'm reading it?
No. So he's using the Soldanos right through, but on the blues nights, right,
okay, yeah,
he's playing tweeds.
But
right,
all the songs up until this one,
yes,
he was using the Soldano.
Soldano,
correct.
Yeah. So, there is that divide.
Turned down on the clean channel. Where's Brad gone?
It's right.
Okay.
Camera do something. No, that's fine. I just wanted to make so in 1990 on this blues night he's using the Soldanos, and then he's gone to the tweeds on 91.
Yes. But he still uses the Soldanos in '91 on the Rock Nights.
On the Rock Nights and the other stuff. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's right.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just getting clear in my old head. This, as I've said, this is where this marks a transition to the '91 band. I think it's the '91 band. I think this is there's the line between the two. I may be wrong about that, and maybe but that was my understanding of what happened. That's why he's introducing Jimmy Vaughan on slide. But so he is joined. They swap over bass players, don't they? Joey Spampinato on bass and Chuck Leavell on keyboards comes in. Jerry Portnoy on harmonica. Still with Jamie Oldacre, Johnny Johnson and Eric on piano. Eric on piano, Johnny Johnson on piano, and Eric on guitar. That'll be a turn up. And plus Jimmy Vaughan as well on sort of rhythm guitar. The thing, which sort of yes, that took me a little while to get my head around exactly what was going on, because I think when I first did the research, I wasn't quite sure what happened, but clearly that's what's happening, I hope, and seemed to me. So they start off with All Your Love, which is an Otis Rush song. Again, a jaunty kind of mid-tempo blues. Again, that contrast with the previous track, where we've gone slow and now we're going faster, kind of thing. Jimmy Vaughan on slide guitar with Johnny Johnson on piano and Joey Spampinato in that kind of laid-back bass. And certainly he has a different bass style to Richard Cousins as well. So you can definitely notice the difference on the bass playing. Great. So that Eric plays as the intro, and then you've got a solo, and then at 1:37 you break into that double time underneath the solo. So the majority of the song is then played on that double time thing. Classic kind of blues trick, isn't it? You start off and then you double time it halfway through. And we've seen that quite a lot on other tracks. Classic trick. Pick it up. You've got a piano solo and you've got a Jerry Portnoy doing a harp solo as well, which is cool, and another guitar solo. And I wasn't quite sure who the other guitarist was. I don't know whether it was Jimmy Vaughan or
Jimmy Vaughan.
Jimmy Vaughan. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just checking. Thank you for keeping there. And back to the half time to finish. Kind of as I say, that kind of mid-tempo jaunty blues thing. I gave this 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip. Good introduction to the new band, I think, which is what I'm kind of reading it as. Brad.
It's great. All Your Love. I mean, it's great to hear Eric introduce the band. Be great if there was a little bit more talking and chatter between the songs. I know he didn't do it a lot, so that's probably why it's not there. But this is a wonderful feel from Jamie on the drums. He's a wonderful drummer for the Blues Nights. He just did such an amazing job. It's got a great intro to this song. I love Eric's voice on this song. Sounds really rich. And there's nothing like a great minor key blues. I mean, it's great. This is a great version of this song. I love all versions of this song. One of my favorites is a Gary Moore one, but hearing this, I love this one. Eric leads the band through the changes beautifully. Visually, I love the black Strat, and it looks fantastic. I love the pewter one as well, but the black one's really growing on me now, so I might have to, get a twin for this one, get the blackie. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to think about that. Great piano playing. Cool. I love the harp playing as well. Solo from Jimmy Vaughan is fantastic. Blistering notes, lots of space. You can see the string gauge on the fretboard really well, and looks like he's got a pretty heavy gauge string on there, pretty much like his brother did. And
13s or something, is it?
I don't know. You can see the string gauge looks a little bit thicker than what's on Eric's guitar when they do the close-ups. That's just him being a little bit nerdy though, and really looking at that. You can see Eric is watching on with admiration. Obviously, he has a lot of time and admiration for the Vaughans, Jimmy and Stevie. But then you hear a solo from Eric, and it's really throaty. He's on the neck pickup tone. The tone is different, and I'll say that there. We need to note the tone is different to the Soldano amps. He's using the Fender amps from here onwards for the rest of the songs, and you can really, differentiate the Soldano to the Fender amps. My preference is always going to be the Soldano. I gave this song a 9 out of 10, and never a skip, guys. Andrew.
Yeah. I'm just reading what Jim's saying too, guys. Jim's given it a 10 out of 10. Derek's made a comment here, 9, and so is Alan. This is a soft version of the song, isn't it? It's hard for me, guys, to get the Beano version out of my head, when I see the song, because that album had such a huge influence, not only on me, you, Brad, and the Rock Professor, but, thousands, hundreds of thousands of guitar players and music fans over the years. It's a soft version, and I appreciate what the song is trying to do, and you guys have elaborated well and clearly what Jimmy is doing on this track, and I can see why it's a little bit tamer because of Jimmy's influence, because Jimmy's coming from that Texas style. And incidentally, we do look forward to doing a show, don't we, on the new documentary that comes out of Jimmy and Stevie Ray Vaughan, which will be out for us to see eventually. So hold on, folks. We'll be talking about that. Sorry to digress, Brad and Simon.
Sorry.
The guitar tone, as my co-hosts have said, and Michael's made a point about in the chat, it's a little bit different, isn't it? Because of the tweeds. He's not playing it loud. There's no volume. There's no overdrive there. It's just a tame, nice version of the song. But I've got to be serious, guys. When I hear this song, I feel cheated. I want it to be fiery. I want to have that fiery intro that I'm used to. But we've got the Beano album to go back and do that. So remember that, folks. Brad, I've given this 8.5 out of 10. It's certainly a different sound from the previous songs.
Yeah.
Different tonal. Yep.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think that it's particularly noticeable on the next track as well. It's My Life, where you kind of get the full force of the bigger band with more fuller sound, slightly less space in it, and you feel it's kind of got a bit more,
See you, Michael.
Got a bit more punch. Good night, Michael. Sleep well. Thanks for staying up.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, fantastic. But so I think this has gone back to sort of a kind of medium tempo blues. The drums are excellent, playing that beat, that sort of swingy beat. Jamie Oldacre really laying it down with the bass and the piano, and a very passionate guitar solo from Eric. I mean, he really comes in, doesn't he? And on that intro, and great singing as well. The other guitars creating color around what he's playing. The solo at 150, I thought was sort of seemed quite far back in the mix. It's, again, sort of that thing about how much do you fix something by boosting it or whatever. I don't know. I presume that's Eric doing the first solo on this, Brad. Is that right?
The first one's Eric. I think the second one is Jimmy.
The second one is Jimmy Vaughan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not misreading it. It could get, you got 3 guitar players on the thing. It gets a bit confusing about who's doing what. But fortunately, Eric has a particularly, that tone of his strat is quite distinctive. So I normally pick him out. But solo, as I say, kind of far back in the mix. Really, I was expecting it to be a bit further up in it. But great accompanying piano as well, and great, as I said, great swing to the drums. And I think it's a tribute to Jamie Oldacre that he really gets how to play this stuff and can give it a swing and put the roll in rock and roll kind of thing that that keeps those things moving and keeps them kind of really funky feel to them. Harp solo from Jerry Portnoy, great harp solo. And you've got the piano as the kind of prominent rhythm instrument towards the end. And there's a solo to the end. Again, I gave this 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip. Brad.
All right. Well, it's my life, baby. Great funky feel. I love this song. And when people talk about blues and what they love, this is a style of blues I love. I love hearing a bit of funk to it. And great drumming and bass playing. They're really locked in together. Jamie, as we keep saying, is a great drummer and really sets a fantastic feel to this song. I think Eric's vocal is fantastic. It's one of the highlights for me on this song. Very strong, sings with conviction, and great rhythm guitar from Jimmy Vaughan during the verses, and the piano playing is sensational. Eric comes in with his solo. He's screaming. It's a screaming, Eric styling solo. It's Eric if you weren't visually watching it, like, Simon, you picked it out straight away. It's Eric. You can't not pick that it's Eric. I have to say, visually, watching Eric play this with slightly longer hair and in a black suit, he looks kind of godlike. He's got a godlike look about him. It looks visually, it's an amazing look. He was just playing with his head back and tilting his head backwards and playing slightly off to the side, and it's like the lighting. It just looks godlike, like something out of a biblical scene. It's amazing. Jimmy Vaughan comes in playing a solo. He's using his fingers on the right hand, and then he goes to a guitar pick. He really understands the blues, and he's got a Texas sort of funky style of playing himself. And he's sharp. He's a sharp shooting blues guy, Jimmy Vaughan, and it really comes through. Strong harp playing solo. And when Eric comes back in singing, his voice sounds remarkable. I'm sure every blues singer wishes they could sing like Eric right in this spot when he comes straight back in after the harp solo. And then he plays another solo, which is screaming through pentatonic runs with lots of space between the notes. The band sounds very rehearsed and tight. I don't know. I was under the impression that they rehearsed the blues nights during rock nights, or I'm not sure. I've read a few things. I'm not sure what's right or wrong, but they sound very rehearsed. And I definitely would never skip this. I'm giving it 10 out of 10. Andrew.
Oh,
yeah.
Andrew.
Derek has given it a 10 as well. I think Derek is making reference to this song. I think he is.
Still a good.
Yeah, I think the great thing about this song, with the disappointment of the previous song over and done with, you get into this song, Brad, and boy, what a super hot intro. It's just fantastic. It's, and I've said this to you guys before, a 30-second solo or an intro is going to be will be a 10 out of 10 for me. That's all it needs to have in a song. Yeah. Or the ingredient of a song, to just have something short and sweet. I love it. I'm glad that you guys have made reference to the harp solo, the harp, how it links in well with that nice sort of crunchy little bit of overdrive that's going on with the guitar. I like that. Clever. I can't recall in my mind, and I didn't make any research, Brad and Simon, about listening to any previous versions of this song. So I've got nothing to compare this to. But I think they've done really well. I think the harp. I'm convinced they've done something with the harp on this song. Must be for you and I, and everybody here to agree. For the three of us to agree, I think they've done something with it. I too have given that a 10 out of 10. I won't go through and repeat everything that Brad and Simon have said, but definitely a highlight with the disappointment of the previous track, Brad and Simon.
The original, I think, is by Junior Wells. It's a Junior Wells song.
Yeah.
Hot by, so it's on YouTube, so you can check it out if you want to. I didn't go back and listen to any of the originals. I've spent a lot of time trying to get my head around this record and kind of figuring it out a bit. So, it's long, isn't it, as well? So maybe I'm going to revise my score up to a 9 out of 10. I feel like not quite doing it the justice it possibly deserves. So the next track is Johnny's Boogie, which is a classic piano boogie song, instrumental in the style of Pete Johnson and Albert Ammons and all those guys, if you remember those. I love this kind of piano playing. I think it's a definite favorite of mine. I'll tell you a funny story that pertains to my old boss Tony, who I was talking about earlier. I was in the shop one day and I opened this box of records that we'd had delivered, and it had 25 copies of an album called Back to Boogie by a man called Neville Dickey. And I thought, I'm 19 years old, so I think I know everything and I know nothing. So I opened this and I'm like, oh, this must be a mistake. Nobody buys 25 copies of an album I've never heard of. So the next day when Tony comes in, I said, oh, by the way, we got this. I presume this is wrong. And he went, no, I ordered 25 copies. And I'm like, what? You ordered 20? Yeah, he said, yeah. And I said, well, I've never heard of it. Really? You seriously telling me we're going to sell 25 copies of an album I've never heard of? I'm such an idiot. So anyway, and so he looks at me, he's like, he smiles to himself and he goes, what's this? So there's 3 people in the shop, right? And he said, I'm going to sell this record before the end of the first track. And I'm like, no way. No. So he puts it on and it's this classic kind of piano boogie. And literally halfway through the first track, this bloke comes and goes, what's this record? And Tony's like looking at me going, ha ha! And he's like, and it was only £1 or something. He's like, so the bloke buys it. It's every single time, he'd wait till 4 people in the shop, then he'd put another coming in, and somebody would always come up and go, what's this record? It's really good. So I sold 25 copies of it. Oh dear, on the back of my stupidity. But I have a copy of it, and it's a really great. So I love that kind of piano boogie music. It's great stuff, and a great interlude between all the other guitar stuff. I think it's fantastic to give Johnny Johnson his own little bit. There's a harp solo in it. The one thing I'd say about it is, I don't know. I think it's Jimmy Vaughan. It's a kind of amazing kind of not very good. I would have taken it out because of guitar clangs at the beginning. And I don't seem to be in tune. I don't seem to be in anything. It's like, Jimmy, stop that. It's not enhancing it, man. It was, I found it, every time I've listened to it, of course, when you hear it and you go, God, that sounds a bit grating. And then when you hear it again, you go, God, that sounds grating. So I made one. But I wasn't that enamored with the rhythm guitar, which I felt didn't really add much. And sort of, as I say, at the beginning, at least I would have taken the beginning stuff out because I didn't think it was very good. But and it's a bit of organ. I gave this 7 out of 10. Never a skip. It's great piano boogie track. And as I say, I'd take out Jimmy Vaughan, but I wouldn't do anything else to it. Ruthless with the slider. Brad.
Johnny's Boogie. Look, there's some great piano playing here. The band had just locked in straight away behind him. It would have been an amazing thing to witness live, to see this. There's some great drumming and bass playing. Eric's playing the melody on the rhythm guitar with the piano at times. There's great solo. And, the song sounds rehearsed. They sound really tight. It's a real highlight for Johnny Johnson, and he well and truly deserves the spotlight. And I gave it 8 out of 10, never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Brad, and thanks everybody else for their comments. And great story, Rock Professor. Yeah, what the hell does a 19-year-old know about anything?
Idiot.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he used to just, every time there were people in the shop, he'd look at me and go, time for some Neville, and he just put it on every bloody time. He'd sell this record. He's like rubbing it in a really good way. It's like, you think you're so bloody clever, you idiot.
Brad, it's like the old bull and the young bull story, you know.
Yes.
You know, the old bull and the
steady now, steady now.
You know, rubbing the young bull's nose in it. Great story. Gotta agree with Jim there. Look, we all love keys, don't we? And boogie woogie keys in blues music and rock and roll. How many times, Brad and Simon, have we spoken about songs where the background, the keyboard or the piano has just elevated a song from just, you know, from just a piece of music to a great track, you know? Look at the guy that played with the Stones, a couple of the guys that played with the Stones, and Chuck Leavell through the course of history. And, you know, then you've got an original guy like Johnny, you know, providing his musicianship on countless tracks as well. I got to agree with you, Simon and Brad, you know, and again, with what Clapton has been doing right through his career, providing a spotlight for these old guys, for these old black dudes, you know. He's been doing it all his life, and he continues to do it. God bless him for that. It's not my favourite thing, sitting down listening to an album of boogie woogie piano, I'll be honest. I get the context of what this is about, Brad, in the course of a concert. You'd love it, you know, in the course of a concert. It's never a skip, though. I'm giving this same as you, Simon. 7 out of 10. Never a skip.
No.
I know exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, it's a kind of palate cleanser. It's a kind of change of a vibe and a change of, so I think it serves a really useful and good purpose at this point in the thing. You know, it's kind of, absolutely. And as you say, is a showcase to one of the greats, Johnny Johnson. You know, Chuck Berry learned everything he knew from Johnny Johnson.
Sure did. Sure did.
So I'd say, guys. But so the next track is Black Cat Bone, and this is features the great Albert Collins. So again, Eric, allowing Albert to showcase. It's a really great, funky, swinging number. And he says at the beginning, doesn't he, Albert Collins, I hope this is my first time and I hope it don't be my last. And he's like, clearly some of it's a kind of sell to Eric, isn't it? Invite me back next year. I'll be back. No, really, I will. Which I think is lovely. It's fantastic. Kind of, I'm really enjoying myself and I'm really into it. And yes, invite me back next year, which is brilliant. A great number, this, isn't it? It's a bit of a hesitant start. It's kind of slightly out of focus, and then the drums come in and bring that focus and that to the song, and then and off they go. And you've got the organ and the piano in this. Got two keyboard instruments this time, which is a first time for the organ. I don't think it's been in the tracks before. So a bit of different coloration. Again, Albert Collins' guitar is very clean, isn't it? It is a very clean guitar. Sound and things. As an organ solo, but it's quite low in the mix. It's in the mix of it. And then you've got Albert Collins doing what he does with his guitar solo. Clearly a very different proposition to Eric, and then a piano solo, and then another Albert Collins solo. So this is kind of a tribute, a showcase for Albert Collins to show what he can do and get into it a bit. I think it's again, it's a great contrast to the last track and a contrast to what's coming up as well. So I gave this 9 out of 10 and never a skip. Brad.
Beautiful. We always got to worry when Black Cat Bone, the name comes up there, and Albert Collins walks out on stage in leather pants. You're going to get
I love it. Oh, bro.
It's leather pants.
Oh, man. What a dude, eh? What, and that dude that he's got, man.
He's hanging the guitar.
He's the dude, isn't he? Yeah.
He's
the... Yes.
He's got the capo on the telly. He's got the guitar hanging on the opposite shoulder, just like flung over there like the coolest dude ever, yeah? He just walks onto the stage, and it's a real typical Albert Collins funk to the song. And you can see Eric and Jimmy Vaughan are just locked into the groove. The bass and drums are fantastic. That, and Albert Collins just sings amazingly. Some great piano playing from Johnny Johnson, and great organ solo as well. And Albert Collins comes in with a sting guitar solo, just typical Albert Collins. Everything is like a bee sting, or I don't know, it's like insane. Another fantastic solo by Johnny Johnson on the piano, another verse and another blistering solo from Albert Collins. In the background, you can see the admiration on Eric Clapton's face watching Albert play, and it's just visually, it's a beautiful moment to watch. Albert Collins come out, and as you said, it's his first time. He's hoping it's not his last. He's announcing that he wants to come back.
It's lovely, isn't it?
I gave it 8.5 out of 10, guys, and never a skip. Andrew.
One of the great things that I love hanging out with you guys about is, we get an opportunity sometimes to talk about our own personal experiences. And, this album by Eric Clapton, when it came out, and reading about this album and the artists around this album gave me an opportunity to go back and discover that great album that he did called Showdown, with Robert Cray, Johnny Copeland, and obviously Albert Collins back in '85. And, it's a famous album, guys. If you're not familiar with it, there's the cover there. I don't have a record version of it. I've got it on CD. And and the opening track on this is Black Cat Bone. Yeah. So as Brad's, incredible guitar, Brad. Incredible guitar. I'm glad that you took an opportunity to talk about how this dude, how he looks, man. It's part of the appeal, man. I just
gold, everything, yeah.
If you're not familiar with him, go and have a look, folks. Go and check it out.
Yeah, I think
I'll make a Facebook post too.
Andrew, I think that song's on YouTube. The visual of it, I think it is up there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah.
But
quite
anyway,
the dude.
It's quite a YouTube, right, Andrew?
Yeah, it's just powerful. And it's because of that I just have to give it a 10 out of 10, bro. I just
an extra point for the leather pants.
Yes.
Oh.
I might have to renegotiate my score after hearing Andrew's score. But he truly is like the coolest dude when he walks out. He owns the stage. And
man,
you can see the mighty Eric Clapton, and all of them look tiny compared to him. Then when he walks out, So
definitely a giant. And that's another, because there's a British Electric Blues connection on that album, guys, too. It's another one on the list, Simon and Brad, for us to go and rank.
100%.
Robert Cray and Johnny Copeland, and you guys have said, Brad, the Rock Professor, you guys have said it all. I'm just going to go and say, go and watch the video, and you'll understand everything that we're saying. Brad, I'm glad you mentioned it. Thank you, because I had a note here. Because rock and roll's about looking cool, but more than that, rock and roll was about some guys just looking like that dude. You know what I mean? And just pulling, 10 out of 10. Rock Professor.
Can I say that, to back you up, Andrew? I've always said to guys in my band, when you walk in the venue, people have got to go, that guy must be in the band. If they don't know you, they have to know you. You've got to walk in and go, that guy must be in the band, yeah? So putting up in what everyone else is wearing on stage sometimes isn't a good thing if you're unknown. So if you want to be known, you've got to get up and present yourself well. That's just my take on it.
Do you not, Brad? Because I do on my own gear, I change right? So
Yes.
I'll put my gear up in my civvies, so that and then I'll put on a gig shirt or whatever. But when at the end of the night, I'll go off, change back into my civvies, and before I pack down my gear, so it looks like somebody else doing it.
Well, Simon, it's a big thing. I think you've got to, if you're setting up in front of a crowd, you shouldn't be in costume doing that. 100%.
No, exactly. That's exactly my point. Is I wear my civvies to set up and do and then I put my gig gear on, and then I take it off again as soon as I finished, and I pack down with my civvies on, not my stage gear.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, because in the early 90s, I used to associate with a couple of guys, a band in Hamilton called the Echoes, and two of the guys that were in the band that were the roadies, the drummer and the keyboardist, they used to wear wigs when they used to set up.
Oh, wow.
No shit.
I don't know anyone like that.
Yeah. They used to wear wigs when they used to set up, because because obviously
so
they were when they would come out, because they were a local, like a successful band locally. So when they were going out, they part of that early 90s looking vibe. But yeah, not uncommon.
No, cool though.
But Brad's right. That's why you have stage clothes. When you get that leather jacket. You wear that leather jacket on stage, the denim jacket you wear to the gig, Brad.
That's right. I like that. Anyway, back on track, boys.
Sorry.
Back on track.
So anyway, sorry, a digression, really? Who did that? Yes.
I'm cracking the whip because it's getting on dinner time.
Getting to us.
Oh, yeah. 2 hours.
So anyway.
Oh, holy shit.
The next track is Reconsider, Baby. It's a Lowell Fulson song, which is a slow kind of jazzy blues number. It's a slow, smoky, atmospheric song. Again, you've got that very clean, guitar part to start with and things. Just piano, bass, and drums, kind of, tinkly piano, kind of tinkly, jazzy piano. Great stuff from, I presume it's Johnny Johnson playing that. And low key drums and bass, just holding it down. And you've got Albert Collins is singing call and response, classic kind of call and response guitar stuff. And I think at 3:47 Eric does the solo on it, the first solo. I'm hoping that Brad's going to nod to me when
first solo is Jimmy Vaughan.
Is it Jimmy Vaughan? Is it? Right, okay. So wrong first one. Okay. So Jimmy Vaughan does the first solo on that. And, so I'm just making
then Eric's second.
And Eric's right, okay, fine. I've got them round the wrong way. Well, that's all right. That's fine. That's the advantage of seeing it, I suppose, isn't it? As a thing. Again, great solo. And I noticed that, and the Jimmy Vaughan, I think is somebody else who's playing with him. I don't know whether it's Albert Collins or whether it's kind of, there's a bit of other guitar playing going on with Jimmy Vaughan in that first section. There isn't. I don't know whether it's Eric or whether it's Dan.
I can't remember now. I have to go back and watch it. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of overplay going on. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. So you got the drums in a bit more, and you've got an organ that plays as well, kind of coming in, giving a bit more coloration. And as you say, there's a slow kind of build up, and then there's a solo by Eric getting us around the right way. Yeah. And then you've got that 7/17, that drop down, and they do those guitar solos that intertwine, which is really cool playing. You can see the difference in the sound and stuff, makes it very clear what's going on. And that kind of impassioned, soulful singing that he does. And as you can't get any better, a proper blues ending. You can have a proper blues ending. So a kind of slow, smoky, bluesy ballad. 9 out of 10 from me, never a skip. And this is this is kind of one of the meats in the sandwich. This, isn't it? The big showpiece numbers. Yeah. Brad.
Look, when you watch the DVD of this blues night, the very intro at the head of the Blu-ray, they do all the introductions and the song's playing, but they're showing who's performing and stuff like that. And it says special guest Robert Cray. He's the only one that says special guest Robert Cray. The rest of them just get noted as members of the band, and he's definitely a special guest with this song. I don't know why they did that. There must be something. There must be a reason, maybe legally or
Brad,
something.
Tell you why.
Is that not the next song?
Because of the dramas. Is that because of what happened over the last few years? Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So what I'm saying though, he's definitely a special guest here. He stands out. That delicate intro, some amazing, beautiful piano playing from Johnny Johnson. Yeah.
Brad, is he? Robert Cray's not on this track. He's not on Reconsider Baby, is he? He's on My Time After a While. He's on the next one. Is he on this one?
Robert Cray. He's singing it.
What, Reconsider Baby? Is he really? Oh, okay, fine. Okay, cool. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's singing it. And I'm just now you've got me checking my notes here, double checking on what.
Sorry, I don't want to be confused. You're fine. It's right. The boss says you're fine. You're fine.
And I'll also mention this is the first time this week I've actually seen a lot of this stuff, including this song. I've never seen this before. So that's why now you've got me throwing the spanner off.
Sorry, it's apologies. Ignore me.
A delicate intro. There's some amazing, beautiful playing from Johnny Johnson. The rim shots on the drums to start off is very cool. Robert Cray watches on while Johnny Johnson's playing his solo. You can see the admiration in his face. He comes in singing stunningly. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of feel in his voice. The first guitar solo is taken by Jimmy Vaughan. He comes in playing like a seasoned bluesman. You know, he's so directional. Jimmy Vaughan with his playing, he knows what he's going to do. It's almost like his brother. They never thought, they just played. There was something unique about those brothers, the way they performed. And Jimmy here, he's just playing. He knows what to do. He's got great feel. He's playing with conviction. Eric comes in with a second solo. His eyes are shut. His head's back. You know, he's just playing what Eric Clapton does best. He's playing the blues. And the next solo then is Robert Cray. And the volume of the band, like they bring it down dynamically and giving him the space to play delicately and soft. And, you know, they really highlight Robert Cray's style in the way that only he plays that particular way. I love the way he pinches up the notes. I don't know, it's not like a pinch harmonic, but he's pinching at the notes there, and when he plays delicately with that quack tone. No one else really does it like Robert Cray. The way he comes back in singing after his solo is fantastic as well. I nearly gave this 10 out of 10. I gave it 9.5 out of 10, and never a skip, guys. Andrew.
Yeah, Brad, what a great elaboration for us on the song. And the next one too. It's just you know, certainly the whole progression has gotten better, hasn't it? When you consider the first track right up to the next two tracks. I can't wait to see this performance on Blu-ray when it comes out. I'm envious that you've had the opportunity, and after listening to you talking about it, makes me jeepers want to go and check it out. You know, famous song. We've heard so many versions of the song, haven't we? Simon and Brad over the years. From the Cradle has a wonderful version of it. You know, it's one that we all love. But this one, there's just something beautiful about this version of the song. You know, so I was a little bit critical before, guys, when I said that I didn't have the fire or the edge or the intensity on All Your Love that we get on the Beano album. And I'm glad that this track is so far different from the Cradle version. I'm glad that it is. And it's because of Robert Cray and his contribution, because he's not that kind of guy. And remember, folks, Robert Cray was huge in the late 80s with, what's the album?
Persuader?
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 Yeah.
Isn't it smooth? I've got it in the cupboard here.
Yeah.
I've got it. It's a great album.
Yeah. So he was huge. You know, we had normies that weren't listening to our music boogieing down to Robert Cray, and, you know, he was on the top 10. So one of the reasons why we have to admire this guy, because he brought that into that pop music segment. A little bit sad that him and Eric, as you've mentioned before, a little bit, Brad, from the research that I've done, a little bit sad that they're not talking. You know, it's what happens when politics becomes involved in relationships, and when it gets to a point, you know, that people don't want to talk. Hopefully one day, they might be able to make amends, and we might get a public statement saying, hey, they're going to do a world tour, Brad and Simon. You know, that'll be nice. But I agree with you. I was waiting for someone to talk about the Rock Professor's theory about the second track.
This is not the second last track. I'd just like to point that out.
Isn't it?
No. There's My Time After a While, and then there's Sweet Home Chicago, and then there's You Better Watch Yourself reprise. So,
I didn't rank those. Sorry.
Oh, blimey!
so that's not on. So this is one of the reasons why. I don't have the box set or the. It's not on. It's not on Spotify.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I mean, you see, what I did was the Spotify thing is 24 nights, and it's got all the tracks there, 1 to 906.
Hold on, I didn't use Spotify. I used Apple Music.
No,
Hold on.
So that look, this is the Spotify. He's just got all the tracks, and you know, but the middle section has all the things, and I just picked them out from the tracks, and I listened to it on Spotify. You know, there's and it doesn't. Yes, you're right. It doesn't. It disproves the Rock Professor's theory that the second last track is on. If this were the second last track,
okay, strong persuader. Yeah, you're right, John. Well, I can't rank those tracks. Sorry. Apple Music doesn't have them. So, Brad, I've given this 10 out of 10, Brad. Just a fantastic song.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. So so depending on where you're coming from,
Brad,
the last song.
When you do the contribution for next week, send me a song list of all the songs that you're going to be ranking, so that make a note of that, please.
Yes, well, we'll talk about that in the green room afterwards.
Oh, yeah, because I don't want to. I'd hate to sit here like an idiot and miss out 20 songs.
No, you won't have to. Don't worry. We'll be right.
Cheers, mate.
Okay, so anyway, the last track, or not, as the case may be, is My Time After a While, featuring the great Buddy Guy back. This again is it's kind of two long slow blueses, one after the other, which is interesting. Not what we've had up until now. So, you know, this is Buddy Guy at his very best, playing clean guitar, and he solos over that kind of muted piano bass, just the snare and the hi-hat just holding it down. And then I think he's joined by Robert Cray, and they play together. Is that right, Brad? At the beginning bit,
the intro. It's actually Eric. Yeah.
Is it Eric? Is it? Oh, right. Okay. So they play together, and then Buddy Guy addresses the audience. You know, using the old stagecraft to address the audience. You know, and saying, you know, making sure they're all right. And again, it has a kind of subdued feel. It has a quiet guitar solo. I think it's not, you know, it's kind of lots of feel, lots of vibe in it. And you know, and then Buddy Guy's asking the audience, "Do you feel all right?" Yeah, you know, kind of doing a bit of audience participation. And you've got some harp playing as well from Portnoy. That's very good. Still very kind of subdued and atmospheric kind of thing. Then about 4:22, they pick it up with a bit of a mannish boy riff, don't they? Da 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 kind of thing as they get into the kind of more impassioned singing. and then you've got a full band playing under the solo at about 5 minutes, which is great. And you build up to kind of crescendo, and then about 6 minutes, take it down again into a verse. And then there's a kind of series of kind of small crescendos. They just build up a bit and then drop down and build up a bit, quite subtle, but beautifully done. You've got to know what you're doing to just, to keep, like waves, isn't it? Just, gentle, keep it going as a dynamic, but not kind of really big dynamics, just small, keeping it interesting. And then, Buddy Guy addresses the audience again, thanking Eric again, kind of thing, and vows he'll be back, kind of thing. And I like, then he clearly breaks into a line of "Dust My Broom" at the end, just to kind of it's a bit of blues reference. And you've got a piano and harp playing after that, and then you've got another big ending, which is what you should have. So run up, I think, is to the end. 9 out of 10 from me. Never a script. Never a skip. I can't speak anymore. A great, long, kind of atmospheric number. Great stuff. Brad.
Look, My Time After a While. It's a great song, and I've seen some fantastic versions of this with Buddy Guy. I'm a Buddy Guy fan. There's one that he did at Buddy Guy's Legends nightclub, and it's just something else. It's amazing. But this is a great version as well. I love how when the band starts, Buddy, he's so animated. He's such a performer, and I'm sort of feeling sorry for you guys that you had to rank this without seeing it, because if you see it, it's actually a performance. I actually think this was on Across 24 Nights. This one, which was the the one in the cinemas. So you guys probably have seen this anyway. So Buddy insists the song is played softly. He goes over and he's telling them to hush, hush, play down a bit quietly. And Buddy's guitar, he's turned right down. He's playing with everything he's got, but he's soft, like he's got his volume down on his guitar. He's a showman. He's owning the stage at this point. He tells the crowd he feels good, like Simon said. He grabs the harp player's harp and plays the guitar with it, like he's soloing, playing with a harp. It's amazing. It's all visual. He's playing. He's humorous. He's trying to grab your attention visually as well as his performance. The band's playing real dynamic behind him. It's exactly what they need to do. It's exactly what Buddy demands them to do, and Buddy demands the crowd's attention. It's remarkable the accolade he gets from the crowd during the song. Every time he acknowledges them, they're roaring. It's great. Again, Buddy Guy is a soul singer. He's singing like a gospel thing, like soul. He announces, that his girl's left him in one of the parts of the song, and he launches across the stage towards the organ playing, and he's just like so animated. You're almost like captivated by the performance. You've lost all concept of where you're at and what you're doing just watching this. It's a very visual performance. The way he uses the guitar strings, on his shirt, like I'll demonstrate. It's the guitar, and he goes.
Oh, that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing, right? That's scratching. Yeah.
It's something else. You visually, you have to watch this. It's something that, Buddy Guy is a performer. He's not just a guitar singer, but he's got an amazing voice. Yeah, and Buddy Guy, we have to sort of give him credit where credit's due. He influenced the greats, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton. He's influenced just about every player that's on stage at that particular moment as well. Jimmy Vaughan, Robert Cray, they're all influenced by him. So it's an amazing performance. Like Buddy's singing like a soul singer. There's one point there where you can see the smiles and laughing coming from Clapton and Jimmy Vaughan in the background. They're like a fan. They're up on stage with him, but they're captivated by his performance as well. Then Buddy calls Eric over during the performance. He calls him over, and they're playing off each other. They start doing this call and response thing, and you can see Eric is gloating, like he's so, I guess for a lack of better ways to put it, he's in awe of Buddy Guy, and he's trying to impress Buddy Guy. That's an amazing friendship they've got too. Showmanship alone, this song deserves 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Buddy Guy is like a true older generation blues legend, and he demands respect. So for that reason, I'm giving it 10 out of 10 and never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, what a track. I became this is like Buddy Guy's Have You Ever Loved a Woman? You know, I became aware of this song and Buddy Guy as a performer when I saw the Super Show VHS, I think in the early 1990s, and Buddy's playing this with Jack Bruce and Buddy Miles. And on our channel, we've got a snip of Buddy and Eric doing a bit of a duel, Brad, from that same show. That's when I became aware of Buddy Guy, when I saw, as you guys have said, and everyone else is saying in the chats, you know, about Buddy being this performer as opposed to a musician. You know, completely different to Eric Clapton. You know, Eric Clapton was just standing there playing his guitar and closing his eyes, wasn't he? But, you know, Buddy Guy was pulling those facial expressions, moving around, you know, animated Brad, you know, back in 1969. And that kind of hooked me. And then, obviously, when you hear that he's doing this version of the song on this gig, it's like, oh, wow. And then, as Brad said, you know, it's on the film almost across 24 nights. And I think when we did a review, I think we said it was one of the highlights.
Yes, it was
of the whole gig was you know, Buddy and his involvement in the way that he manipulates the band and the audience, and he's basically got them in his hands. It's remarkable. It's remarkable to watch and listen. But as Derek said too, he has this ability never to upstage the party.
No, he's just doing his thing, and
his thing. Yeah. Go and check out Super Show, folks, if you haven't.
Andrew, that's one of the greatest performances of all time.
Yeah,
that Buddy Guy stuff with Jack Bruce and Buddy Miles, that stuff there, his voice, man. Anyway, that's another show in itself. Just those couple of songs.
Yeah. Look, I've Brad scored this. I can offer a comment on Sweet Home Chicago, guys, but I'll skip the last one because I'm not familiar with the last one. But
it's only a reprise. Reprise. If you better watch yourself, it just reprises. You better watch yourself with Buddy Guy singing it. It's fine. It's
okay.
And in actual fact, it's all one song. They just on Spotify they just divided it into two, but actually it goes. You know, he just doesn't. He goes into. He says, you know, he just starts singing it, doesn't he? They start doing it, and he just starts singing it. But it's a seamless join. It's not a separate track. They just do it as part of Sweet Home Chicago. I was going to make.
There's one. Sorry, Simon. There's just one comment here from John ZD351. If you're not influenced by Buddy Guy, the chances are you're a plumber, probably a rich plumber too, but you're not a guitarist. I'd rather be a poor guitarist influenced by Buddy Guy than being a rich plumber that's never heard of him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Sorry, Simon.
I came across. I think it's from 1971. And Buddy Guy playing with Eric Clapton, playing this and doing that guitar duel thing. He calls around, they do that guitar duel thing. You know, it's the same, pretty much the same thing. And that's from 1971.
That's from Super. I'm pretty sure. Is it from the Super Show?
70? Yeah, I think it is.
I don't know what it was. It might be, yeah. But he does, where he calls him over, he goes, hey, come over here. you know, they do that kind of the guitar dual thing. But so it goes a long way back, doesn't it? With Mr. Guy.
I think Super Show was recorded in '69 too.
69, okay.
Yeah, an old lino factory. Worth checking out.
I just know it was a long time ago. But anyway, I'm going to treat this as one thing, really. I don't think that they're two separate. So the last track is Sweet Home Chicago, and goes into a bit of a reprise of You Better Watch Yourself. So so as we all know, it's a fast blues shuffle kind of thing, just, you know, upbeat, up-tempo number to finish with. Eric and Buddy sing together on the first verse. I don't know if they hadn't quite worked it out. And you've got organ players, and Buddy Guy sings the second verse alone. You've got, I think the first solo is Eric playing. Yes, good, that's right. And so just checking, that's great, you know, does what he does. And then you've got Buddy Guy solos as well. And I think you've got Jimmy Vaughan soloing in the back of the mix as well, kind of backing him up, kind of doing a dual thing. Great piano solo as well on this. And then they do another guitar solo, and that goes into they have a drop down, and then Buddy Guy starts singing You Better Watch Yourself. And they go into that, and they have soloing under the singing, under him singing. Got piano and harp playing as well, and the guitar solo. I think all three of the guitars are kind of soloing together as a kind of round robin thing. And then you've got a big chord to end, and that's the end of an epic blues night. So great version of this. I love the kind of going around of it. 10 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. Real bounce, real verve, and proper ending. Brad.
Yeah, look, Sweet Home Chicago, it's a great song. And look, I think at the end of the day, Eric's done this a lot in his career. This is a great version of it. I love how Buddy starts the song off. It's a jam, you know. You can tell they're jamming on this. This is like the encore or something like that. Eric and Buddy singing together, it sounds fantastic. Their voices really complement each other, you know. And then Buddy kind of takes over the lead vocal duties there. Eric and Buddy again play together. Then Albert Collin digs in with a guitar solo, sort of in that icy fashion he does. Then Robert Cray takes a solo. Johnny Johnson on the keyboards. You see it.
Yeah.
A shot of Eric, and he looks confused as to what's going on. Then Buddy Guy takes a solo, and then there's lots of smiles and laughing going on stage amongst the guitar players. They're loving it, like they're having fun. You know, it's what it's all about in an encore jam. Then they do break into You Better Watch Yourself with Buddy Guy singing, and there's a harp solo in it, and a continuation to jam. Look, I've, like you, Simon, I put these two songs together. It's one song, really. It's not separated. It's just how they've done it. And I gave it a 9 out of 10 and never a skip. And it would have been an amazing experience to be part of the crowd while they're doing this. Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the song, guys, but haven't ranked it, so I'm just going to go by my memories of the song. I think Derek has put a great comment here. It's a classic jam. You know, I'm waiting, hanging out to see the video footage because I haven't seen this. I don't think, Brad, this is included in Across 24 Nights. I don't think it is. No, it's not. So, again, one of the great things about the Blu-ray package is that we're going to get that and be able to watch it. And maybe we can talk about that when we get together and have our kind of round table conversation, because by then we may have all had an opportunity to watch the Blu-rays, and or maybe people have uploaded Blu-rays onto YouTube. You know what YouTube's like, you know, they'll invite anything on there that doesn't talk politics.
Wild West.
Yeah. Look, I got to agree with you. I think, you know, it's a classic song. Again, it's one that Clapton has played many, many times throughout his career. There's some great versions of it on the Me and Mr. Johnson, or is it the EP version? No, it's the EP version. We ranked that too, didn't we, Simon? We ranked that.
God, did we?
The sessions.
We did do an EP. We did some EP. There were 4 tracks or something.
Yeah, the sessions of Robert Johnson. I think we've done that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So, again, a classic blues song, one that you're going to learn, and we made a reference point to it, to an earlier song being related to the riff. Again, epic package, Brad. Thank you, bro, for offering your commentary from the fact that you saw it. You've watched the DVD, and because of that, bro, I think it's important for you to next week lead the rock night.
Yes, no worries. Well, I will say this: I think it's very difficult, and I focused very heavily on the blues one because I got the package a couple of days ago. So I've watched the blues one twice, and it's like 2 hours or whatever, and then just to break it up, I needed to watch something different, Andrew, and I'm sweating to watch the rest of it. So I watched the rock one. I sat for the length of the rock one, and there's a lot going on there, and I hope by that stage you're able to watch it, Andrew, because there's a visually it's just as important, I think, as like this one was though too, Andrew. I think it would have been really hard to rank this without seeing it, because there's so much going on there visually that it's like, the 24 Nights package that came out many years ago, Andrew. Once you've seen the footage and you're listening to the DVD, it was easier to understand what's going on. But when you haven't heard it, when you haven't seen it and you're only hearing it, it's a lot harder. So I'm hoping by that stage you're both able to see the performance. What I'm trying to say, I hope, praying that you guys get to see it.
Gonna have to get a Blu-ray bloody player, aren't I?
You better rush out and buy one.
So how many songs are on the rock night, folks? Because we might have to split that over 2 shows, because we've been going for 2.5 hours now for 13 tracks.
Well, I think we will, because there's a lot to talk about in that. The blues stuff is a little bit. I'm glad we started with blues, because it's a little simpler to rank. There's a lot in this stuff now.
The rock one.
6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 on CD.
18 songs altogether.
Okay.
Yes. I think
so
that's a 2-part shows.
All right. So we'll do that over 2 nights, 2 shows, easily.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do is we'll go from the CD perspective track listing. So CD 1, we'll do that ranking next week, and then CD 2 the following week.
Okay, and 15 tracks, Derek is saying.
18, definitely 18.
18.
Even I can do 9 and 9.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do, folks, next week we'll do the first 9 tracks of the rock night, and the week after we'll do the second 9 tracks. Brad will be leading that. We look forward to that. Thank you, Rock Professor, for leading us on this charge of the definitive 24 nights. I know that we've been going for 2.5 hours. I know that there's somebody wanting to be fed in the Cook household. Yeah. So we'll end this show pretty quickly. Brad, you want to go through and say goodbye to everyone, or we're just going to do a generic goodbye and say hey and go and eat?
Well, because we've been going for 2.5 hours,
we're going to go.
Just going to say to everyone in the chat, we've been reading all your comments here. It's fantastic. We love the interaction with you guys, and without singling every single one of you guys out, thank you for joining us, and thank you for the contributions you continue to give to our channel. It's amazing, and thank you. And anyone that's watching this that's not subscribed, watching a replay, please do the honors and subscribe to our channel and spread the word, guys. You guys are helping us grow this channel. We're doing the hard work. You guys are doing the hard work out there. Let's spread the word. Let's get this thing going over to 10,000K. Goodbye, guys.
Take care, all. See you next week for Rock.
Rock.
Rock. Rock.